We're continuing the Sikha and Chelik Lamed Hey, Chaye Sara Gimel. We are on page 97, Seif Hey. Okay, so the last couple of weeks, or maybe even longer, we've been learning about the situation or the matzav, the condition of Goyim Lasid Lavai. What's going to happen to them? So we learned one Sikha where the Rebbe discussed what it says regarding Goyim. Will they be totally annihilated? Will they be elevated? Will they be subjugated? We learned all the details about it. And I hear in this Sikha, the Rebbe is discussing, first the Rebbe had a very interesting vart regarding Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach. That in the Rambam, when he talks about Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach, there are two different halachas. In one halacha, the Rambam says that you should force or convince a guy to fulfill the Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach. That's it. That's the obligation that lies on a Yid. In the next halacha, the Rambam adds, if a guy accepts upon himself Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach, because it's written in Torah, and because the Eibishter said to Moshe Rabbeinu at Har Sinai that they should fulfill Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach, then that guy is in the category of Chsidei Umas Ha'olam. That's another halacha. And if you remember, we learned last week, the Rebbe says that tzarichi, and it's possible that the obligation of a Yid to convince a guy to do Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach doesn't necessarily include that he should fulfill it because it says in Torah, he should fulfill it because of Moshe Rabbeinu. You just have to convince him to do it, to do Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach, for whatever reason it may be. And then what we learned is that the hashpah, the influence that a Yid has on a guy, it works in two stages. There is the direct hashpah that you have on a guy when you interact with a guy, when you talk to him, when you are directly being mashpia on him in one way or another. It can be by force. The Rebbe brought from times in history where the Yidden conquered territory in Eretz Yisrael and around the Eretz Yisrael, and the Goyim living in those territories were forced to pay taxes and to live according to the Yidden's requirement. That's a yochayv, the Yidden forced by force. You're here under our jurisdiction and you have to abide to our laws and so on. That's when it's by force. Then you also have a Yid that convinces a guy to fulfill Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach. But then there's something else. When Yidden live and behave in a certain manner, b'derech memela, the Goyim get elevated not only to actually follow a certain set of rules, the Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach, but they also come to a deeper recognition of what this is all about. They come to a deeper recognition that there's a creator to this world, and we're doing it for his sake, and we're doing it because he commanded so. So over here, it's not just that you are convincing or forcing or letting a guy know about this, but it's much more than this. It's when they come to appreciate and understand what life is all about, and that they created the world, and therefore this is the right thing to do. That's a much higher level of influence that you have over Goyim. Can't hear you. Much higher level. So it's not necessarily something that can happen in a direct conversation with a guy, but it's something that over time, eventually he himself comes to this shleimus to realize what he's really doing. Is a guy capable of that? A guy is created b'tselem lakim. A guy does not have, that's something that I've discussed in other places. A guy does not have a nefesh lakis, which is able to be.
He definitely has a neshama.
He doesn't have a nefesh lakis. I'm not sure what you mean by neshama. He doesn't have a nefesh lakis. He doesn't have the ability to be selfless and to recognize the Eibishter like a Yid. But a guy has a nefesh bahamis, which is very selfish. Not a nefesh bahamis on a much lower level than the Yid's nefesh bahamis, but there is a nefesh asichlis, the level of intellect where a guy is able to understand with the tzelem elikim, which is a nefesh asichlis, that the Eibishter created him, and that he should be dedicated to the purpose of his life to serve Hashem. Maybe after we learn the Sikha, we can learn that. There's another place in Parshas Noach, Chelik Tezvav, where the Rebbe explains this in Barichas, that it is possible for a guy to come to the recognition that they have created him, and he's here in the world to serve Hashem. Not on the same level as a Yid, but there's a level of that connection that a guy has. Okay, now let's continue inside the Sikha, Sif Hey. Page 97. If you only have page 98, we're just going to be reading one paragraph from page 97, and then we're going to page 98. So Sifei begins v'yeshloimar sheshnei eifanim elu murumazim gam b'siyum beis aprakam ha'achreinim shel Sefer Rambam b'soif hilchos malachim u'mechamesayim. The two different levels of influencing and changing the life of a guy is also hinted in the two last prakim of the Rambam in Hilchos Malachim, the end of Perek Yud Aleph and the end of Perek Yud Beis. Okay, page 98. What is the difference? Both in the end of Perek Yud Aleph and in the end of Perek Yud Beis, the Rambam talks about the effect that Yidden have over Goyim. But what the Rambam doesn't say the same thing in both places. B'Seif Perek Yud Aleph, Messiah Rambam. Rambam concludes and says, "V'kibetz nitchi Yisrael," that Moshiach, after he comes to the level and the stage of being confirmed as Moshiach Vadai, he will gather all Yidden to Eretz Yisrael, v'yisaken es ha'olam kuloi, and then he will rectify and elevate all people of the world, lavid es Hashem biyachad, to come and serve Hashem together. Shenema, as the pasuk says, ki oz epoch al amim safa brura, the Eibusha will transform all nations to have one language or to speak with the same words. Likroi kulam b'shem Hashem, they will all call out the name of Hashem, uliyavdai shchem echad, and to serve all together in one group. That's a description the Rambam gives in the end of Perek Yud Aleph. B'Seif Perek Yud Beis Messiah. In the end of Perek Yud Beis, the Rambam also describes Yemei Mashiach, and he also says something that relates to all nations of the world. Ubai says, man, in that time period, lo yisham, lo rav chulu, there'll be no hunger. Goodness will be in abundance. Chulu. And then the Rambam says, it won't be the occupation of the entire world. So when the Rambam says kol ha'olam, that includes all nations of the world. Ela lodas is Hashem bulvad, only to know Hashem. Now therefore, Yisrael chachamim gedolim, Yidden will be very wise. And will know the hidden things of Hashem. Will grasp the das of their Creator, and the complete shleimus of what a person can grasp. So both in Perek Yud Aleph and Perek Yud Beis, the Rambam is mentioning about the effect and the shleimus of Yemei Mashiach, including Goyim as well. After the Rambam finishes describing Mashiach Vadai, building the Beis HaMikdash, gathering Yidden, he doesn't stop there. That's a part, it's a very important part of Yemei Mashiach. We learned in the previous Sikha that the shleimus of the revelation of the Eibusha in the world is only when the entire world is elevated and changed. That's the V'yisaken es ha'olam kuloi. And over here also the Rambam says, right? Okay, so now, what's the difference between what the Rambam says in Perek Yud Aleph and what he says in Perek Yud Beis? So the Rebbe explains. Now, if you pay close attention, you'll see the differences as follows. So, Perek Yud Aleph, in the end of Perek Yud Aleph, Medaber, Oidis Pu'ulas, Moshiach u'bnei Yisrael, Bu'ulas ha'olam. Here he's talking about the direct influence that Yidden are going to have, beginning with Moshiach himself, and all of Yidden are going to have on all the nations of the world. Meaning, what Yidden are doing, what Yidden will, the effort and the actions that Yidden will invest in talking to them, influencing the Goyim of the world. As the Rambam says, V'yisaken es ha'olam kulo. Mashiach will lead. He will lead all of humanity. And he will come and elevate all the Goyim with this. But v'ilu b'seif Perek Yud Beis, medaber oides hanifel bo Messiah b'derech memela. In Perek Yud Beis, the Rambam does not describe what Mashiach is going to do, what the Yidden are going to do. The Rambam talks about the time period, about oisay azman. What will happen in this time period? The condition of Goyim will automatically be elevated by the revelation that's going to be in this time period. The Pashtus Haloshen is the simple meaning of what the Rambam says. The entire world will be occupied only in knowing Hashem. The Rambam is referring to all mankind, including Goyim as well. The Rambam does not imply that Yidden, that this is a result of Yidden making any effort in influencing Goyim in this effect. It just says, a boy says, man, this will be the fact of reality that will be in that time period. However, even regarding here, what the Rambam says in Perikid Beis, that the Goyim B'derech Memela will be included and be elevated into this level of recognition. Also, this is related to who Yidden are going to be at that time. It's all an outcome of the level of the Aveda of Yidden in this time. Even if it's not the level of what Yidden are going to be speaking to and influencing directly the Goyim, but Yidden are going to be on their own level, Chachamim Gedolim on a very high level. Through the fact that Yidden will be on the level that they will be, it will automatically have a tremendous influence on all the Goyim that are surrounding them. This is clear from the fact that the Rambam includes in the same halacha, Hein Mailas Yidias Hashem the Bnei Yisrael. The Rambam talks about the great level of the knowledge of Hashem that Yidden will have, and also the level that all Goyim are going to have in the knowledge of Hashem. What this means is the fact that the entire world will be elevated to this level to know Hashem. It's going to be an outcome of the level that Yidden are on. It's a different way of influencing. You could usually before in the Ha'ara, the Rebbe explained that when you influence someone, you have to change someone's opinion, or you have to change his negative attitude that he has. It comes like it's with a battle. It's a fight. You have to, whether you're literally and physically fighting, or you're fighting to change someone's opinion. You literally have to break down his attitude and his perspective, and you have to transform him. That's one kind of hashpah. But then there's another kind of hashpah. When the world sees and experiences the level of holiness and of Das Hashem that Yidden will be elevated to, b'derech memela, the world around will be influenced by this tremendous revelation. So it's not the direct hashpah from Yidden, but it's only because of the matzav of Yidden that the Goyim get elevated to recognizing the greatness of Hashem. Those are the two stages that the Rambam is speaking about, in Perikid Aleph and in Perikid Beis. When you look in Perikid Beis, the words that the Rambam says, the halacha before the last halacha, so the Rambam writes, the Chachamim did not desire for the days of Mashiach. They're not interested in being on top of the world and leading and governing and controlling everybody. Not because they're looking to control the Goyim and their lives. And not so that the nations of the world should elevate Yidden to a higher status. And the Chachamim did not desire Mesa Mashiach so we can eat and drink and enjoy as much as we want. It's only so that we have the time and the space internally as well to just be busy with learning Torah and Hashem's wisdom. That's what the Rambam describes here. Okay, so you learn the simple pshat. The Rambam is telling you that don't think that we daven and beg and hope for the coming of Mashiach every single day is because we feel downtrodden, we feel stepped upon, we feel so persecuted, and we just want to get out of this pain and suffering, and we want to be on the top of the world, and we're going to take revenge, and we're going to be above, and we're going to subjugate everybody else. That's why we hope and daven and pray and await the coming of Mashiach. That's what the Rambam is coming to say. No, that's not the case. It's not the case. Yidden don't want Mashiach for that reason at all. Yidden want Mashiach for one reason, to be connected to the Eibishter on the deepest level. Pnuyim b'Torah v'chachmasa. That's a simple pshat of the Rambam. We're here, though, the Rebbe will say, no, there's a much deeper pshat of what the Rambam is saying. It's very difficult to say that the Rambam is coming to negate this foolish idea that we want Mashiach just for the reason so that we can be on the top of the world and control the Goyim. Why does the Rambam have to negate this? So at first glance, this is very difficult to understand. How will you even think to say? The Rambam doesn't say that He's talking about people that are alpitated, truly, chachamim and neviim, they're wise and they're prophets. And the Rambam is saying about them that they did not desire Moshiach Mashiach that they should control and then be dominant over the goyim. You should be elevated to be on the top of everybody. And then furthermore, the Rambam talks about eating, drinking, enjoying. Even if you're talking lahavdil about wise philosophers amongst goyim, Matzinu, we find she'ikir eskam umasas nafsham u'b'muskalis. What a guy that's on a high level that understands that intellect and philosophy is the most refined occupation and involvement of a person more than anything else. He's not interested in controlling anybody. He's not interested in having parties and food. Even lahavdil, a guy understands that the highest and the most refined occupation in life is in the world of chokhmah and philosophy. They have no desire to control over anyone. But so how much more so it's understood that the chachamim and the neviim of Yidden, you don't have to come and say a halacha and Rambam to negate that we don't want Mashiach for the reason to control and to eat and drink. What's the Rambam saying here? Hello. So based on what we said before, we can say as follows. Kavanas Rambam he. The Rambam's intention with his words is as follows. So there would be room to say shetachlis hamayla sheilen esavo chachamim v'chulu. What is the highest level that the chachamim desired when we say that they desired Mashiach? Hilasake nesailam. It's in order to influence, to elevate, to rectify, to fix this world. The world is a place that the Eibusher created. And the world behaves like we're living in a jungle. So the Chachamim desire to make the world the place it's supposed to be, a better place, and make the world should live to be a world like what the Eibusher created it for. So if so, maybe you would think that the Tachlis HaShleimus of the Chachamim and the Nevi'im is to be Mesak in the world. To teach and to educate and guide everybody in the world. And the point here is that level of the direct influence where Yidden are focused on teaching and guiding everybody in the entire world, not about control. When the Rambam says control, he means but to elevate, to teach, to change, to show the world the truth. So you would think that maybe this is the reason why Chachamim want Yemaisa Mashiach, so they can be given the opportunity to actually teach and guide and show the whole world the truth. That's the real control that you can have over the world. We're not talking about control where a person wants to just be on top and in a position of authority to dominate and control. Real control is when you're able to change people's lives and show them the truth and educate them. Maybe that's the shleimus of Yemaisa Mashiach. So that's what the Rambam is saying. That is a certain stage of Mashiach. In Perikar Aleph, when the Rambam talks about what Mashiach is going to do, that will be a certain step, a certain level of what Mashiach will do that'll teach and show and guide. The Yisakin. He's going to be Misakin the entire world, as we say every day in davening. In Alein L'Shabeach. Misakin Olam Amalchus Shin Dalad Yud. To be Misakin the world. But it's not the Shleimus yet. When Chachamim and Nevi'im desire and beg for Mashiach, what do they desire? Not this level of Mashiach, but the real essence of Mashiach. The real reason that Yid wants Mashiach is not only for the shleimus of Mashiach as it relates to the Goyim and as it relates to the Metzias of the world. The real reason that Yid wants Mashiach is because it's going to elevate us out of the entire world to be completely one with the Eibusher that's beyond anything that exists in the world. And whatever influence the Goyim will receive from that will be b'derech memela. We're not going to be relating and be busy and be focused on educating, guiding, and teaching the entire world. We actually learned about this subject in another sikh. I don't know if you remember, the Rebbe spoke over there about this inyan, about why a Yid wants Mashiach. Here, this halacha Rambam, Le'nisava Chachamim, the Rebbe there in that sikh explained, when the Rambam there here says Le'nisava Chachamim, the Rambam is not just telling you a fact about Chachamim. It's a halacha in Rambam, and the Rambam here is teaching you that a Yid has to be a maimin, umachake, umetzape, l'bias Mashiach. You have to believe and await Mashiach's coming every day. You have to know what you're waiting for. You have to know what you want. Why do you want Mashiach? What's the purpose? So here the Rambam is telling you, this is the real reason why you should want Mashiach. Not so that the world should be a perfect place. A person can want Mashiach starting from a very basic level, so everybody should be healthy. There should be no tzaddis, no persecution, and the Yidden should have everything they need, and all the goyim and all the haters and all the anti-Semites should have a mapala and a misa mishuna, and so on. That's one level of wanting Mashiach. Another level of wanting Mashiach is you want a shleimus of the hisgalus, of a lakus in the world, but a level that relates to the mitzias of the world, and that plays out by the fact that a Yid is able to teach a goy and show a goy and educate the whole world to show them the truth. The real shleimus of why the Chachamim and the Nevi'im want Mashiach is for the achdus of Yisrael, the Kutshabirichu Kol Echad, nothing to do with goyim. This is like the vart you told me a few weeks ago. You mentioned to me the vart in connection to Shmini Atzeres, that Yisrael Malkal B'Lechadai, the real reason that Yid wants Mashiach is because that's the time where you're going to be Pnuyim B'Teire V'Chachmasa. The Yidden, the Teire, and the Eibishter. Nothing else. The Hashpah that will be on the goyim, that will be B'derech Memela. That's they'll be elevated automatically because Yidden will be on such a high level. That's in Perikut Beis how the Rambam concludes the Inyan. Okay, let's continue. They've finished the Oiser. Ava Aval Pikein Mamshech Kanal, but the Rambam does continue and point out Shegam Dagenai Lazud Pnei Yisrael. Even this very great level of Yidden, where they're totally connected and focused on being one with Hashem and not relating to the world at all, but nevertheless Payelas Bailam. It has a tremendous impact on the world as well. Shebederech Memela. Without Yidden directly coming down and to relate to the Goyim. Yidden are on a whole different level. But B'derech Memela Yiyeh Matziv Kol Ha'olam B'ofen Naila B'Yoseh. The world will be elevated to a much higher level. Sh'layiyeh Eiseh Kol Ha'olam Elo L'das Hashem B'lvad Cholo Shenema Ki Mola D'Deis Hashem K'mayim L'Yom Mechasim.
Small question. Why did I have to mention not to eat and drink? Can't eat.
That the Kudah Rebbe doesn't explain it. I was thinking about it. Yeah, why the Rambam lechel v'lishtos v'lismayach. It could also be. It doesn't say here. So, but it could also be that when the Rambam talks about lechel lishtos v'lismayach, he's not talking about a chilul shtia and simcha kipshuta to party. We think that there's certain shleimos, chilul l'shem shemayim and shtia l'shem shemayim, kol masach l'shem shemayim, and that's a certain shleimos. So even that a chilul shtia eichet nish. The real shleimos is something completely beyond that. Ein beloy achila v'loy shtia, right? It's
we should wait what Moshiach for Rabbi Oster said that. In that famous song, the first question is also when Essen.
Susan, you.
We should keep this for this page, just for this.
I'm not sure we're going to continue the sikh. I have to look. I have it actually.